you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm host Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. When they are ladies, that makes a visual welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show is family loves you but doesn't judge you, because you're here to learn stuff. You're here to listen to great stories, the amazing authors that we have on the show, and all that stuff. Refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
Today's featured author comes to us from bookstolifemarketing.co.uk. With expert publishing to strategic marketing, they help authors reach their audience and maximize their book success. Today, an amazing young lady on the show. We're going to be talking to her about her book and some of the insights that she has and kind of why she wrote it. You might learn some lessons from some of the ways that she writes. Marian Mattice is on the show with us today. She's
Mattice. It's Italian.
Oh, okay.
It looks like Mattice, but Mattice is with two S's. This is the way to pronounce it. That's Italian. Mattice.
Mattice. Marian A. Mattice joins us on the show today. We'll be talking about her book, The Spooky Haunted House. And we'll get into some of the details that go into that. She is a professional educator for the past 45 years. This is her first published children's book, and she resides in a big old farmhouse in New York with her husband, Ken. They own 3 Papillion dogs, 1 Devon Rex cat, and a large flock of chickens. Welcome to the show, Marian. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. Nice to be with you.
Pleasure to meet you as well. Give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
I just had a website made up, and is that backwards? People seeing it backwards?
Go ahead and just read it off to us.
All right. It's author Marian Mattice Books.com.
Go. And we'll have a link for that on the Chris Voss Show, so they'll be able to click on it there. So give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside your book.
I wrote it for one of my students that has difficulty with fluency. He's dyslexic, we believe. And I'm trained in the Orton-Gillingham method of teaching dyslexics how to read. And so I was inspired, not this past Halloween, but the Halloween before, to write a book for him where it builds. So it's kind of like the house that Jack built, where, you start out with just a phrase and you add another phrase on the next page and another phrase on the next page and so on. And so it's cumulative in nature, and it helps with the fluency because it helps you remember what you've already read and you develop a flow. And that's how children, beginning readers, learn to read.
Oh.
Then, in the middle of the story, there's a question posed to the reader. And what do you think's going to happen next? And so he came up with the idea, and that launched into part 2 of the book. So the part 1 is pretty easy for emergent beginning readers. And then it gets slightly more difficult in the part 2, which is where he wanted the pumpkins that the ghost pours his magic potion on to become zombies. So I went with that idea, and I wrote the part 2 where the 3 zombies try to find a place where they want to spend the rest of their earthly existence, and with, a friendship relationship with someone. It's kind of, as with a lot of children's books, an adult can read it and apply it to their own experience as well.
Oh.
Okay. because they've had situations where they've had to do that. So, it says that on the back, we put the little blurb says it's a Halloween holiday themed story reminiscent of the motif in the house that Jack built. It uses a repetitive sentence pattern and storyline pattern that is perfect for emergent and beginning readers to read and reread to develop their reading fluency skills. So once a child reads it and says, oh, this isn't that hard, I think I can read it on my own, especially if the first time they hear it is when their parent reads it to them. And then they might want to pick it up and try practicing it themselves. Because I still remember when I was a child doing what my teachers in school said. And I'm sitting in my living room and I said to my parents, I can read that newspaper headline. It says, and I sounded it right out. And I remember that was the first time that I had read using, what my teachers had taught me in school. And I think I remember reading at 4 or 5. I don't think I was in first grade yet. So when I went to first grade, of course, it was a lot easier. And and my parents always told my sister and I, you're going to be first generation college kids, but in order to go, we don't have the money. You're going to have to earn scholarships. And so that's what my sister and I did. We applied ourselves. We got good grades in school. We won scholarships in order to be first generation college graduates. So
congratulations. So you winning the scholarships and getting to go to college, first generation and stuff is really important. What were some of the early books that you maybe were reading and influences maybe that you had?
I loved fiction, fantasy. I did not care for biography. I didn't want to read about dead people. No. But a lot of books that had magic in them, imaginary creatures. I loved the Princess and Curdie series, which I don't know if anybody reads those anymore. I also loved the series Half Magic, and there was a whole bunch of magic written by Edward Eager. And my very favorite book that I must have read 50 times was called The Witch Family. And it was about a family that lived on top of a glass hill. And within the glass hill, there were mermaids living. And the little witches became friends with the mermaids. And they had all kinds of adventures. And what was weird is it was a story within the story, because the two girls that were friends invented this, and it became so real to them that they became part of the story. And it was hard to figure out what about it was true and what about it was just their imaginations. And I liked that kind of thing when I was growing up.
So what motivated you to want to write this book?
Like I was saying, my student was struggling. He's much improved now, because that was a year and a half ago, a year and a quarter ago. And so I wrote it for him, and it happened to be Halloween time. So, of course, the appeal for this book is pretty much seasonal. But I do have an idea for my next book, which is not going to be just for one season. It's going to have a draw year round. And that's called Brownie Barn Chicken Bounces Back. And I have so far a line drawing, and then I'll fill them in and they'll be, colorful. And so that's the next one. And then my third book that I'm thinking of doing is going to be called Bend in the Read, Teaching for Student Learning Breakthrough. I always look at the child. I evaluate their strengths. I try to combine remediation, and that's based on their strengths, so that you're not pointing out to them what they're not good at and giving them more of what they're not good at, and then more of what they're not good at, and they get turned off. So if you integrate their interests, what the skills they are good at, and then you pair it with activities that are going to cause them to practice what they're not good at. They see the fun in it, and the motivation, and they don't pay so much strict attention to the boringness of it, or the practice over and over practice, because I vary the topics and the strategies. So basically, that last book about Bend in the Read, Teaching for Student Learning Breakthrough, is going to be geared to encouraging newbies in the field of education how to have the most bang for their buck so that they don't get themselves burnt out doing activities that the kids can't stand or have little effectiveness and a little reward.
Yeah. I mean, burnout is a big deal. I mean,
most teachers now hardly even last the first 5 years before they decide that, this isn't for me and it's too discouraging and, I can make more money someplace else. But for me, it was never about making more money someplace else. It was the rush that I felt when a student all of a sudden, poofed, in their head and said, oh, I can do this. It's not smoke and mirrors, and they'd look at me like, why has it taken so long for someone to explain this to me this way, or to, boost my morale this way, And I guess the biggest thing that I find rewarding is students that I have asked me to be their friend on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
So I get to see their children and, and their lives now. And a lot of them report to me that they're teaching their children at home the same techniques and strategies that worked with them when they were having difficulties.
That's amazing because, teachers, my mom was a teacher for nearly 20 years. My sister was. The teachers change the world, man. They make impacts to people in their lives in a very youthful state. And, I've been at the store, my people come to my mom and be like, oh, I remember you as my teacher, blah, 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 blah. And they just love on her. Sometimes she's kind of looked at me after and been like, that was one of the bad ones. I didn't think would ever not be in jail right now, but I guess it's funny how they remember her and they adore her. And
I'm not saying that there weren't lots of times where I wanted to throw in the towel and and do something different for a living, because I graduated 13th out of 295 and I won a half tuition scholarship to Fordham, and I was thinking of going into journalism, and then my parents couldn't afford the other half. And I said, maybe I'll do my next favorite thing, which was, I said, if I'm a teacher, then I can continue to learn my whole life right alongside the kids. And so I went to Geneseo, which was a state school. And then when I taught my first 5 years of teaching in a school district that is not the people that live in it aren't wealthy. The school district is, because it's Downsville Central School, which is at the base of a Papecton reservoir. So they get a lot of New York City tax money from the land that's under the reservoir. But the people that live there, are stone quarriers, but they're so family oriented and they would do anything to help their kid learn. But because they were in economically disadvantaged because of living in the ruralness of the environment, I got my student loans canceled each year that I worked.
Wow. Yeah. That's good. Those things can get really out of hand and expensive. So now, why did you choose zombies? Why did you choose these characters in the book? What was the impetus behind that?
There's the two ghosts that live in the haunted house, and here's the other ghost, the grown-up ghost that pours the potion on the pumpkins.
Oh.
There's a mummy. And when they decide to live someplace, the mummy chooses the gnarly. Because I do read-alouds. I'm open to do read-alouds and travel anywhere within commuting distance, or even stay overnight if somebody wants me to come in as an author and read to their students or explain how I did this. Now, the pictures have a computer generated, AI generated background, but these were actual cutouts that I used and glued on white paper. And I take a JPEG file and I emailed it in or sent it as a message or whatever to the publishing company, and then they made it a full page illustration for me.
Oh, there.
And the same thing with the text is I never took keyboarding or typing in school, so I hunt and peck with one finger. And so it's just faster for me to write in my own handwriting, take a JPEG, send that in, and somebody there can type it up. Because I want to become proficient. I don't want to be one flash in the pan, one book and that's it. My favorite children's author is probably Patricia Polacco. She does her own illustrations. She was dyslexic, didn't learn to read till she was 50. And she puts a lot of her own family background, which is, I think, Ukrainian, Russian. She knows how to make Pasanki eggs. And a lot of her books are so brilliantly colorful. And so she does both the illustrations and the text. And she's got over 40 titles. So I want to be like that. I'm going to be turning 70 in June, but I'm hoping I take after my father's side of the family, which they live to be 99 and 96. So if I can be 100, my goal is to reach 103. Here's where
Can I ask you something real quick? Mm-hmm. That's something I don't hear a lot of people say. Why 103? Is there a specific reason for that number?
Threes are very popular in the Bible. So I figure if I make it to 100, I'll add 3 on to it, 103.
Hey, you might as well do the extra 3 since you're already there, right?
Yeah.
You made it that far.
Yeah. Yeah. So they choose different places to live. And the one pumpkin zombie now decides he wants to have arms and legs. So he wants to be friends with the mummy. And then the littlest pumpkin decides that he wants to live in the haunted house because there's already 2 ghost friends for him to play with there. And the largest pumpkin zombie chose to live in the gnarly tree. And it looks like the gnarly tree could use some cheering up. So, I'm thinking, there's possible for a sequel where I could get into more of the developing relationships between the zombie and the person the character they chose to live with. Because at the end of the book, the big ghost, grown-up ghost, says that he was very pleased that his magic potion had helped 3 jack-o'-lanterns turn into zombie jack-o'-lanterns and find just the right places to live out their zombie lives. Now I can truly rest in peace, he said, as he disappeared into the ground, at least until next Halloween, he added, with a big smile on his face.
Oh. Big smile on his face. Now, are they all zombies, or are some of these people humans? And how do they keep the zombies from eating their brains?
There's no humans in it. And that was something my students suggested, because he said, I want them to be zombies and I want them going around killing and eating people. And I'm like, I think we want to keep our book PG, thank you, or less than PG, just G. So I said, let's just have the Halloween creatures in it, and let's not have any human interaction yet. We'll think about that down the road, but
we'll think about it down the road. We'll give it some thoughts and all that good stuff. What do you like about book reading? You were telling me before the show how you write, and you sometimes go to a special place, a house that you have that you write.
Yes. Before I met my husband, I lived in the district in which I taught. And it is a cottage, a winterized year-round cottage on the banks of the West Branch of the Delaware. So we actually have it listed as an Airbnb for people to retreat there when we're not using it. It's called the Regal Eagle River Flat. Mm-hmm. And it's in the town of Hancock, but the school district of Downsville Central School. And it's in the Catskill Mountains. And I specifically only have a landline there. no internet. The mountains are so high, you can't even get GPS on your phone to work, okay? So you have to rely on old school maps, but you can go 10 miles either direction to a town, and you can check your emails and your messages and stuff there. But my particular cottage is a little step back in time, and I didn't want people that go there to be able, for their kids doing this, you know, there's DVDs to watch, there's CDs to listen to. I have a whole chest of games in case it's raining and they can't go out on a nature hike or, you know, put their fishing pole in the river to catch, because the state stocks it with trout. And my husband actually caught the biggest trout of his life in that river. And he didn't have his phone with him that day. So he's, oh, it was this big. I go, are you sure it wasn't only this big? But he let it go because he figured it had survived at such a large size. He let somebody else have fun catching him too. But the next one he caught was half the size. And we cooked that one up. You roll them in cornmeal, you know, you got them, roll them in cornmeal, put cornmeal inside in a cast iron frying pan with butter. And boy, are they delicious.
Oh, they sound delicious. Maybe you should do a book on that. That sounds, I'm hungry right now.
Possibly. That would be, you know.
Book. I'd read it right now. I'd probably eat it.
I want to be very proficient, like my favorite author, which is Patricia Polacco, and, you know, have 40 books. Sometime.
Oh, we have a lot of those authors on the show, some as much as 60 plus. It's wild. They've been writing for a long time. And so, yeah, just staying consistent, doing the techniques you're doing, you should get there. What are some ways that you're using to promote your books?
By doing this podcast and then having it on my website that just got made. But Oneonta, for being a 2-college town, only has one bookstore in town, which I find appalling. But I did put some of my books out in there at Halloween time. Then I've also driven to Vestal, New York, which is an hour west, and to Albany, which is an hour east. And I did read aloud and author signing of my books for kids that come in to that physical bookstore. And then the local library has a copy of my book, and the librarian wants me to come in, and there are some students that have been published through various methodologies, and she wants me to speak to them about you know, when they become adult authors. So the big thing is, I never realized that, you know, I just figured people go on Amazon or Barnes and Noble and they search the topic and then they find your book and buy them. And I never realized that you don't really get a lot of sales unless you actively spend money to advertise and promote your book through, you know, either the company that published your book or other book related companies. That's what I'm doing, is I'm trying to save up and pay for other ways to get the word out there that I exist, my book exists. I'm willing to come and read my book and any future books and I would like to become a best-selling author. And I'm assuming once you have a book and you get another book, and then they see when they order one of your books, oh, she's got other books. Maybe I want to order that other book, you know. I'm working with 2 other companies besides the company that you work with the Books to Life marketing. So I'm thinking the more I can diversify who I'm working with, when people search me, these other things will pop up. And they'll be, you know, interested in doing that. The one company I'm also working with decided that they wanted me to help them design a pitch deck to turn my book into a animated short or series, just like Bluey. You know, we're working on that pitch deck, and then that'll be pitched to producers that might want to invest and create, you know, a animated version.
Ah, That should be fun. That should be fun. An animated version in film in film scoring. That would be fun as well. Now you do these. You said you'll do readings at places. Where are you located? You said within a day's drive or so. What part of the country are you located in again?
I'm in Oneonta, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have two colleges, Hartwood College and the State University of Oneonta in our town. And yeah, I'm really into encouraging, beginning teachers and beginning authors not to get discouraged. So trying to take that advice myself.
Don't get discouraged. Yeah, you have to market the book. I've seen this with apps and companies. You can build the biggest, best book or biggest company in the world. Unless you advertise it, market it, people won't see it. There's a lot of competition out there too. I can't remember the number.
There's so much self-publishing going on too.
Yeah.
It used to be you had to put your book, pitch it yourself, and send it in. And they'd say you'd get all these rejections until finally somebody would want to invest and publish your book. So I can see that, self-publishing is good if you can justify that, you sold more books with a advertising campaign on social media, then, you might continue that another year and hopefully, when you reach a certain number of copies sold, it could be pitched to a very, prominent publisher and enter it into contests too, where it might win a Newbery Award or a Caldecott Award or various awards.
It's been wonderful to have you on and talk about the show and all that stuff. As we go out, give people your final.coms and where people can find you on the internet webs.
Yeah, I can read upside down and backwards from working with students on the other side of their desk for so many years. And they're amazed when I can write something that they can read when it's upside down to me. So I have no problem reading backwards. It's author Marian, MatticeBooks.com. And then I also have a Facebook account and a LinkedIn account.
Thank you very much, Maurice, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Or Marian, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Order up her book, Wherever Fine Books Are Sold. It's entitled The Spooky Haunted House, out June 10th, 2025, and all that good stuff. Be sure to further show your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss, one of the TikTok, and all those crazy places in it. See you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
Oh, all right. Thanks, Marian.